but we are definitely in a cyber war now. This is a
Hmm.
full out. This is the World War III that we discussed, and people are taking this very lightly. They don't understand it, but I am going to tell you right now that we are absolutely in a war, and a war against the Axis powers and the ones that are the Allied powers. And this is just very much similar to World War II, but on a completely different digital war. And there, from an economic to population, this is happening across the board. And nation state syndicates tied to nation state, nation states are basically letting loose. I mean, North Korea, China, Russia. This is basically what is taking place. And unfortunately, I can only yell so much, but I make it very clear. I mean, there's certain things that happened last week that I can't discuss, but we if you saw a very big spike in attacks in the last week, there's a reason for it. So what I'm saying is this, is that we have to be prepared and we have to be very diligent in the way we run our practices and our businesses. Unfortunately, we are still very naive, okay? And there's nothing we can do about it because people are just the way they are. And they'll continue down that path thinking, oh, we did cybersecurity awareness training, last year. It should be every month, every week sometimes. The reality is that we just unfortunately are in a state of denial, and that denial is going to lead to some even more greater challenges for our infrastructure.
Wow. And do you
This
think
is the,
that,
this is the worst year ever, by the way. This is the worst year ever.
yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, I've read some reports that, this will sound political. It is not, but there was that report about the Russian collusion and interference against, or with Donald Trump or whatever it was several years ago. That report was released, and, it talked about a couple of things. It was a very interesting read, and it talked about exactly the cyber war that you're discussing. And I feel that if you watch the news, this has really only been increasing. And I also believe, of course, there's only the things that we hear about. That's not going to be everything that's going on. But we've seen the hospitals recently that were hit. We had the power plant, the oil refinery. I mean, on and on and on. If you start to add this up and think about it, it should be very plain to people that we should be worried. And I think if you were looking from a traditional military standpoint, we are probably the strongest military that's ever existed. So I don't think anybody's going to try and fly bombers over the U.S. or attack us traditionally. But if they could take our power grid down, or if they could cripple our hospitals, or any of number of things, I mean, we were very dependent on all this technology and could absolutely do equal, if not more, damage as
Yeah.
traditional warfare.